3 days before my wedding, I stopped being the bride. I became the observer. It wasn't a dramatic decision made in a single heartbeat. It happened quietly, almost without me noticing at first, like the moment you realize the music in the background has changed, but you can't quite pinpoint when it shifted. 1 second I was Emma, the excited fiancée counting down the hours until white lace and vows. The next I was someone else, entirely detached, watchful, collecting evidence the way a detective gathers clues in a case she already knows the ending to. It started with a look. We were at my parents' house for a small pre-wedding dinner. Nothing formal, just the immediate family gathered around. The long oak table in the dining room that still smelled faintly of lemon polish and my mother's Sunday roasts. Candles flickered in mismatched holders. Wine glasses clinked, laughter bounced off the walls. It felt safe, familiar, the kind of evening that usually wrapped around me like a warm blanket. Ryan sat across from my sister Chloe, and he was laughing differently. Not the polite chuckle he used with my uncles when they told the same fishing stories every holiday. Not the easy family laughter he shared with my cousins. This was something softer, more intimate, the kind that lingers a second too long, that crinkles the eyes and tilts the head just so, as if the rest of the room had faded into background noise. His gaze stayed on her face a beat longer than necessary, absorbing her smile like it was oxygen. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Weddings make you paranoid. Everyone says so. The stress of seating charts, floral arrangements, and whether Aunt Linda will drink too much again turns every glance into potential evidence, every silence into suspicion. I sipped my wine, smiled at something my father said, and pushed the thought down. But then I noticed something else. Chloe wasn't looking at him like a brother-in-law. She was studying him. Her eyes traced the line of his jaw, the way his hair fell across his forehead, the small dimple that appeared only when he genuinely smiled. It wasn't casual interest. It was deliberate. Hungry. The way someone looks at a painting they've wanted to own for years, but never thought they could have. Later that night, while clearing plates in the kitchen, the one place in the house where real conversations always seemed to happen, I walked in on a silence that shouldn't have existed. They were standing too close. Not touching, but close enough that the air between them felt charged. Ryan had one hand braced on the counter. Chloe's fingers rested lightly on the edge of the sink, inches from his. The faucet dripped slowly, the only sound until I stepped through the doorway. The moment they saw me, Ryan jerked back like he'd been burned. Chloe snatched her phone from the counter as if it were a lifeline she'd suddenly remembered. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my voice light, casual, the way you do when you're testing water before jumping in. "Yeah," Ryan said too quickly. His smile was tight, rehearsed. Chloe turned to me, flashing that bright, practiced smile she'd used since we were kids to get out of trouble. "You're so lucky, Em. Lucky." The word landed like a stone in still water. Ripples spread through me, cold and spreading. I smiled back, because that's what you do when the ground is shifting under your feet and you're not ready to fall yet. "Yeah," I said. "I am." But in that exact moment, something inside me clicked. The illusion cracked. I wasn't paranoid anymore. I was awake. The next day, Ryan started acting careful. Too careful. He carried his phone everywhere, even to the bathroom, which he'd never done before. When I walked into a room, he'd flip it, face down on the table with a practiced flick of the wrist. If a notification buzzed, he silenced it instantly, eyes flicking toward me to see if I'd noticed. I had. When I finally asked what was wrong, voice soft, concerned, he stepped close, kissed my forehead the way he always had, and murmured, "Pre-wedding stress, babe. That's all." I almost admired the simplicity of the lie. It was clean, believable, the kind of excuse that requires no elaboration, no backstory. Just 2 words that most people accept without question. I didn't confront them immediately. I watched. I noticed Chloe texting at odd hours, 2:47 a.m., 4:12 a.m., times when she was supposedly asleep in the guest room at my parents' house. I noticed Ryan stepping outside for some air every time his phone vibrated, returning minutes later with flushed cheeks and forced casualness. I noticed the way he avoided mentioning Chloe's name in conversation, as if saying it out loud might summon her. And then, 2 nights before the wedding, I saw it. Ryan had fallen asleep on the couch in my apartment after a long day of final errands. His phone lay face up on the coffee table. It buzzed once, the screen lighting up with a preview. Chloe, I can't stop thinking about last night. My pulse didn't race. It slowed. Everything sharpened. I didn't hesitate. I picked up the phone. I knew the passcode. He'd never changed it from the day he gave it to me, just in case. I opened the messages. They hadn't been sloppy, exactly. They'd been deleting threads regularly, but not fast enough. Fragments remained, scattered like crumbs leading to the truth. After the wedding, we didn't mean for this to happen. She doesn't have to know if we're careful. I miss the way you taste already. I read every remaining word. Slowly. Twice. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt something colder than tears, sharper. Then rage, clarity. A bone-deep certainty that this wasn't a momentary lapse. This was intention. Planning. A future they'd already started building behind my back. The next morning, I had breakfast with Chloe. Alone. My parents were out running errands. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and toast. Sunlight poured through the window, catching dust motes in lazy spirals. Chloe sat across from me in her old college sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun, looking every bit the little sister I'd once protected from bullies and heartbreak. I'm nervous, I said casually, stirring sugar into my coffee, even though I take it black. You think Ryan's ready for marriage? She looked at me carefully, too carefully. Her spoon paused mid-stir. Why wouldn't he be? I don't know. I met her eyes. Sometimes, people fall in love with the wrong person. She froze. Half a second. Long enough for me to see the flicker of panic before she recovered. That would be awful, she said, voice small. Yes, I replied, holding her gaze. For them. Here's the thing about betrayal. People think it's dramatic, shouting matches, slammed doors, tears streaming down faces in the rain. Most of the time it's clumsy, awkward, pathetic even. Ryan wasn't planning to leave me at the altar. Chloe wasn't planning to confess in a tearful confrontation. They were planning to have both. The wedding, the photos, the congratulations, the honeymoon, and then each other on the side. A secret life running parallel to the public one. They wanted the cake, and the crumbs too. That's what made me angry. Not the feelings themselves. Feelings can be forgiven, worked through, mourned. The cowardice. The arrogance of believing I was too blind, too trusting, too in love to notice. So, I made a decision. The wedding would continue. Exactly as planned. On the wedding day, I looked perfect. The dress hugged every curve I'd spent months worrying about. My hair fell in soft waves, makeup subtle but flawless. Chloe helped me with the veil in the bridal suite. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pinned it into place. You're glowing, she said, voice thick. I know, I replied. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. When the music started and I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, Ryan stood at the altar looking emotional. Not guilty. Not conflicted. Emotional, like a groom who believes everything is falling perfectly into place. That almost made me laugh. We reached the front. The officiant smiled. Warmly. Ryan, do you take Emma to be your lawfully wedded wife? Before we continue, I said softly. A ripple moved through the guests. Chairs creaked. Whispers started. Ryan blinked. Emma? I just want to share something first. I turned slightly toward the room. My sister once told me that love is about
honesty.
Chloe went pale. Her hands gripped the bouquet. So hard the stems bent. So I thought we should start our marriage with some. I pulled out my phone. The room went deathly silent. Ryan whispered, urgent. What are you doing? Finishing this, I said. I connected to the venue screen, the one we'd set up for a sweet slideshow of our photos later that evening. Instead, a different set of images appeared. Screenshots, text messages, fragments, dates, times, explicit admissions. Gasps filled the room like a wave breaking. Ryan stepped toward me. Emma, stop. Please. I stepped back. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I asked, calmly. No shouting. No trembling. Just quiet steel. Chloe stood up abruptly. This is insane. No, I said, turning to her. What's insane is planning to sleep with your sister's fiancé after the wedding. Planning to keep it going while I played happy wife. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crush bone. Ryan's mother covered her mouth, horrified. My father rose slowly from his seat, face thunderous but silent. Ryan tried again. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I asked. An emotional internship? A side project? Practice for when you finally got the courage to leave. A few nervous, shocked laughs broke out in the back. People who didn't know what else to do with the tension. I wasn't yelling. That made it worse. Every word landed clean. I reached up and removed the veil, letting it fall to the floor like shed skin. I won't marry a man who thinks I'm an obstacle, I said. And I won't call someone my sister if she sees me as competition. Chloe started crying. Big, silent tears at first, then choking sobs. Ryan reached for my arm. I pulled away. You didn't lose me today, I told him quietly, so only he could hear. You disqualified yourself. Then I turned to the guests, 200 faces, frozen in various stages of shock, pity, anger. I'm sorry you dressed up for this. There's an open bar. At least someone should enjoy the evening. And I walked out, head high, heels clicking on marble. No running. No tears. Just the steady rhythm of someone finally choosing herself. The fallout was immediate. Chloe tried calling me 27 times that night. Voicemails I deleted without listening. Ryan sent long, rambling messages, confusion, regret. It was a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. Please let me explain. I blocked them all. My parents were devastated. Not at me. At her. They told me later, quietly over coffee the next week, that this wasn't the first time Chloe had crossed boundaries. A high school boyfriend of mine. A close family friend years ago. Patterns I'd never wanted to see. That part didn't surprise me. It only confirmed what I'd already felt in my bones. What did surprise me? 2 weeks later, Ryan and Chloe were officially together. Public. Defiant. Photos on social media. Hands intertwined. Sunsets. Captions about finding the real thing and love worth fighting for. They try to spin it into a love story. The kind people root for in movies. But relationships built on secrecy don't thrive. Under sunlight. Within 3 months, they imploded. Jealousy. Distrust. Accusations flying in both directions. If they could betray me, the person who trusted them most, they could betray each other. And they did. Spectacularly. Messily. Meanwhile, I did something radical. Nothing. I didn't retaliate further. I didn't trash them online. I didn't spend hours explaining my side to mutual friends. I moved apartments smaller, brighter, mine. Changed my number. Kept my dignity. Anger stayed with me for a while. Of course it did. I had loved him, deeply, stupidly, with everything I had. I had trusted her, my sister, my confidant, the one person I thought would always choose me. Nights were hard. Memories ambushed me. Planning the wedding together, laughing over cake flavors, the way he used to hold my hand under restaurant tables. The grief wasn't just for what was lost, it was for the version of myself who believed in forever. But revenge isn't always destruction. Sometimes it's exposure. They wanted secrecy. I gave them visibility.
And that was enough.
Months later, I ran into Ryan at a small cafe. Downtown. He was alone, unshaven, eyes hollow. "Emma," he said quietly. I nodded. "I made a mistake." "Yes," I replied. He waited for more, anger, tears, something he could fight or apologize to. There wasn't any. "Do you hate me?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. "I just don't respect you." The words landed harder than any slap.
I saw it.
In the way his shoulders dropped, the way he looked suddenly smaller. Chloe tried once more to reach out through a cousin this time. A message passed along. "She just wants to talk. She's sorry." I declined. Some bridges don't burn dramatically. They collapse quietly. I didn't lose a fiancé. I didn't lose a sister. I lost illusions. And that's a fair trade. Today I wake up in a quiet apartment that smells like coffee and new beginnings. I laugh easier. I trust slower. I choose myself first, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to scream.
It's to walk away.
And keep walking.